everyone, my name's Stonesy Boy and welcome back to Reading with Stonesy. Tomorrow, I'll be gone. I guess it's today. Yeah, because I post the day after. So, today I'm gonna be gone and I'm not gonna say goodbye. Actually, there's a video saying goodbye. I don't really understand where this joke is going right now. But I never want to feel like I didn't post, so I made a lot of videos. And I smell like chicken roast. I don't know. But yeah, today we're reading 20 pages. It's pretty average. And as of recording this, I have finished the entire book. This is actually technically the final page. So, it's kind of awkward. But, yeah. Let's begin with this new chapter of the book. In the flesh. You're so lucky. You just gotta sit around and play video games all day. If Matt had $1 for every time someone had said this to him, he actually could sit around and play video games all day instead of going into the office and working on developing the things. Game development was harder than people thought. It was a great job, the job Matt had always dreamed of back when he was a kid, pretending to be sick so he could stay home from school and make simple games on his family home computer. But there's a huge difference between working on games and playing them. Many parts of the process were exhilarating. That first burst of inspiration when the idea came to you, the triumphant moment when you saw all your plans come to fruition. But between first inspiration and a final fulfillment, there were lots of opportunities for head-banging frustration and punching a fist through a wall rage. One small programming error could mess up the whole game, and backtracking to try to identify such an error was incredibly tedious. People who loved to play games often had their skills in gaming and gave them the skills to design games as well. But this wasn't any truer than thinking that since you know how to read a good book, you also knew how to write one. For now, Matt was eating, sleeping, and breathing his job. He had landed his role in creating and refining the AI in Springtrap's Revenge, a new cutting-edge virtual reality game that was the next installment in the popular Five Nights at Freddy's series. It was the most high-profile game he had ever worked on, and he knew it was going to be a tremendous hit. How could it not be? With the exciting combination of virtual reality and established Five Nights at Freddy's characters, the gamers already loved to fear. The early glitches of the game had been worked out, and now Matt was about to do what non-gamers assumed the only part of the job was. He was getting to play test the game. Matt secured a VR headset over his eyes and made sure the whole device fit him tightly. He was going in. There was a small wall on either side of him. These walls formed a dark hallway and the entrance of the maze. At this point, Matt could only see down the hall straight ahead. No entrances to the left or right were visible yet. Just as he was about to move forward, he saw a creation in the adversary, a large green rabbit, appear in the end of the hall and then to the exit to the left. Just because it was a rabbit didn't mean it was cute. Matt had always found humans in rabbit costumes creepy. It was evidenced by an old picture his mom had taken of him when he was 3 years old, screaming bloody murder in the lap of a blanky grinning Easter bunny at the mall. Springtrap, the rabbit in the game, was even scarier than the Uncanny Valley dwelling mall Easter bunny. This costume was so tattered that some of its mechanical parts were visible beneath the fabric, and better part of one ear was missing. His eyes were evil orbs that glowed green when it spotted its prey, and his grin was wide and ghastly. It was definitely a nightmare fuel, which was absolutely what Matt had intended for it to be. Matt was especially proud of his titular character. He wanted to make Springtrap the kind of horrifying character who would endure. Who would visit people's nightmares for generations to come, from Dracula to Hannibal Lecter. There was a kind of immortality in a truly horrifying creation, and somehow a bit of immortality touched the creator as well. Matt had done an exhaustive amount of research in developing the murderous rabbit. He watched dozens of classic horror movies studying the personalities of cold-blooded killers. He read books and articles on serial killers, about how the appetite for violence should only be sated for a little while until they had to choose another victim. The more Matt watched and read, the more he understood. For the killers who lived in people's imaginations, murder was just a source of joy, a means of self-expression, like painting for an artist, or playing an instrument for a musician. Matt wanted Springtrap to show this kind of deep self-realization in the art of killing. He had wanted to create a character who could open your jugular with same happy excitement as a kid opening a birthday present. Matt was no murderer, of course. If he were, he wouldn't have to do so much research. But Matt knew it was to feel rage, to feel so wrong, still used, that he burned with a desire to destroy, to smash, to teach people who had wronged him a lesson they'd never forget. During the game's development, Springtrap became a place Matt could put all these feelings, a repository for all the destructive urges. Springtrap was a child of Matt's rage. The goal at the beginning part of the game was found simple. Find your way out of the maze before Springtrap can kill you. But the maze was absurdly difficult, made even more so by the first-person perspective that the VR necessitated. Springtrap was both swift and stealthy, as able to appear seemingly from nowhere and kill you before you knew what hit you. Matt made his way to the end of the entrance hallway and had seen the rabbit choose, and decided to turn right in the opposite direction he had seen the rabbit choose. They ended up, as he knew he would, in a large square room with the 4 closed doors. Three of these doors led to new passages in the maze. One led Springtrap to a certain depth. Because of the way the game was programmed, Matt didn't have any more idea of which door hid Springtrap than any other gamer would. Which door would he choose? After a quick round of eeny, meeny, miny, mo, Matt chose the door straight in front of him. He stepped forward, turned the knob, and pushed the door open. The soundtrack emitted a deafening screech, and the bunny lunged at him, his arm outstretched, slashing at him with a big, shining knife. The VR made Springtrap's attack feel disturbingly realistic. The knife slashed at what felt like dangerous close to his eyes, and then Springtrap lifted the knife high and plunged it downward. Matt couldn't help bracing himself as though he's experienced real physical pain. When the perspective shifted to third person, so that Matt could see the corpse of his avatar sprawled face down on the floor. Springtrap, showing a twisted joy in Matt had intended, smiled and looked of true bliss. He knelt beside Matt's avatar and used the knife to slice off Matt's ear. Springtrap held up the blood-dripping ear, a trophy commemorating his achievement. The words "Game Over" appeared on the screen. Matt was furious at himself for choosing the wrong door, furious that the rabbit creation was taking such obvious pleasure in his defeat. He couldn't even remove the headset to take a break. He just restarted the game and ran down the hallway until he was in the room with 4 doors again. He had a gut instinct the door on the left was the one to pick. He approached the door, turned the knob, and pulled it open. Springtrap lurched out at him, the jaws open wide. There was a soundtrack screech, followed by a gruesome snapping sound. Matt flinched because it felt like all the world like Springtrap was split second away from biting his face off. Matt's avatar's corpse again lay face down. What was left of his face, anyway, in a fresh pool of blood. Springtrap grinned his victory, his teeth stained red. He slowly licked the blood from his lips. The words "Game Over" filled the screen again. Matt cursed, tore off his goggles, and threw them down on his desk. He would probably have been more careful with expensive equipment, but he didn't care. Why did he keep losing to Springtrap? Why didn't he win the game he had largely designed? He paced and cursed, then picked up a coffee mug and threw it. The mug smashed into tiny pieces and left a brown splatter on the clean white wall. Good, Matt thought. All the thoughts were destructive. There was a gentle knocking on the door, accompanied with the spoken words, "Knock, knock." Why do people say that? Wasn't just knocking on the door enough? Yeah, Matt snapped, not wanting to be bothered. The door cracked and Jamie from the cubicle close to his office peeked in. She was one of the women who looked like she hadn't changed her hair and clothing style since 3rd grade. Her bangs were cut straight across her forehead, and she appeared to be wearing a jumper. "I heard noises and want to make sure you're okay." "I'm fine. At least I was before you interrupted me," Matt snapped. Everybody in the office seemed to love Jamie. They raved about the homemade banana bread she'd leave in the break room, and how about she was always willing to help out with the problem, whether professional or personal. But she didn't fool Matt. She knew Jamie was a busybody. It was like she was a vampire who fed on office drama. "Sorry, I guess those were just the sounds of creative process I was hearing," Jamie quipped, crinkling her nose as she smiled. It was cowering, grating smile, like a dog wagging its tail when you got caught peeing on the carpet. "That's right," Matt said, not smiling back. What was he supposed to say? That he got mad because the big bunny had killed him twice in a row? That would throw his coffee gag against the wall because he couldn't handle the fact that he was losing to his own creation. Matt was starting to feel like the video game developer version of Dr. Frankenstein. "Well, good luck. See you later," Jamie said, giving a little wave to just her fingers. "You want me to close the door back? I never wanted you to open it in the first place." He was going to go in again. This time he would make better choices. He would get past the murderous rabbit. He would lay to rest the nagging suspicion that was the game he couldn't win. Sometimes Matt felt like life was a game. He couldn't win. Sure, he had all the trappings of a happy existence. He had graduated from a good school and married Hannah, his college sweetheart. He had gotten his dream job, and he and Hannah had bought a pretty 4-bedroom house with ample room for her home office, his massive video game collection, and, Hannah had hoped, a growing family. Back in college, Matt had enjoyed the excitement of pursuing and eventually winning Hannah. He had met her in a killer chemistry class freshman year, where he had an A average and he was struggling. He asked her to be his tutor, and they met twice a week. They worked on chemistry, they also talked and laughed a lot. Finally, he asked her, "Would you be willing to go out on a date with somebody who is way worse in chemistry than you?" She said yes, and they soon were inseparable. Once they were dating, she didn't even mind letting him copy down her problem sets. They gave him extra time to spend together doing other, more fun things. Their meet cute story was a big hit whenever people asked how they got together. They always said, "We had chemistry." After graduation, Matt had loved going after and getting his dream job, hunting for and acquiring the right house. But once he won the prize, There was nothing to do but maintain it, and maintenance wasn't as interesting. The dream house had extensive plumbing problems, so many that it seemed like it would just ask a plumber to move into one of the extra bedrooms. The job was great sometimes, but there was also countless boring meetings during which people who knew much less than he did talked on and on about insignificant details, and he was expected to listen to them respectfully, which wasn't always possible. How could it be, when he clearly had the best ideas in the room? And then there was the problem of maintaining a marriage. When they were dating, Matt had been so preoccupied with winning Hannah's love that he never thought about the cost of that prize. Namely, that he was committing to spending the rest of his life with one person and one person only. It had gotten boring quickly. The endless nights in, the same conversations about their days, the same chicken breast and queen salad for dinner, and the same TV shows afterward. Hannah was still pretty and smart and nice, but the novelty had worn off her. Like when you buy a new car and it's exciting at first, but then it just settles into being your car, reliable and useful, but no longer a source of excitement. There had been other problems as well. Hannah wanted to start a family right away, and Matt hadn't. In fact, the more tedious the day-to-day grind of marriage had become, the less he wanted to add kids to the equation. The whole prospect of parenting yawned before as the string of unpleasant responsibilities stretching out for decades. The feedings and diaper changings of sleepless nights of infancy, the endless ferrying of school-age children, the school and lessons and practices, the drama and the rebellion of the teen years, all of that, plus the stress of having to pay for college. Who needed that? Apparently, Hannah had needed it, or anyway, she had thought she did. Every Friday night when they would go out to the Neapolitan, their favorite Italian restaurant, she would wait until Matt had been softened up by a couple of glasses of wine to say, "I think it's time." Matt would always say, "Time for dessert?" even though he knew good and well that tiramisu wasn't what he was talking about. "Time to start a family," she would inevitably say. He had tried to put her off in a variety of ways. He had said he needed a few years to focus on their careers, but Hannah had said that since they ran the graphic design business from home, she could balance it with parenting now. Once, Matt had suggested that if she wanted something to take care of, they would get a dog instead of having a baby. That tactic hadn't gone over well. The worst, though, was that when he tried to argue that pregnancy and motherhood would ruin Hannah's petite, attractive figure, that time she caught him silo-thrown the contents of her water glass in his face and stormed out of the restaurant. The fact that Hannah wasn't willing to listen to reason about having a baby was certainly putting a damper on their marriage. And then there was the matter of the harmless little friendship Matt struck up with Brianna, a server at the restaurant where he frequently had lunch. It wasn't anything serious, and it seriously wasn't any of Hannah's business, but she got all upset when Matt had left his computer open and saw that Brianna had sent them a picture of herself in a bikini. He had no idea why Hannah had been so unreasonable. Friends did that kind of thing all the time. Hannah suggested the two of them get marriage counseling, but Matt had refused, and their marriage had ended in divorce shortly after 1 year anniversary. Since then, Matt had a string of girlfriends, the first one being Brianna from the restaurant. None of those relationships had ever lasted over 3 months, and Matt was always the one who got dumped. The string of breakups was a major contributor to the rage Matt was able to summon in creating Springtrap. Women are crazy, Matt had decided, and not much of the effort. To combat his loneliness and frustration, Matt had thrown himself into the design of the VR game even more obsessively than usual. It was the coolest of ironies that the game, much like his relationship, seemed to have turned against him. But this time, he was going to outsmart the rabbit and get out of the maze alive. Matt ran down to the dark hallway, turned right into the room with the doors. He looked around and chose the door behind him. When he turned the knob and opened the door, the entrance was clear. He walked down another dark hallway. There was no sign of Springtrap. He made to a left into a hallway that led to the Hall of Mirrors. He knew this way through, of course. The trick was making sure he wasn't being followed. He moved his way past the panels of glass, each one identical. He was maybe 12 steps from the exit when he felt the presence of something behind him. In a mirror, he saw the reflection of the big green rabbit standing behind him. The rabbit grabbed him by the hair and raised a gleaming knife to Matt's throat. Matt would almost feel the swift, sure slash. Once again, Matt saw his avatar lying face down, this time in a spreading puddle of his own blood. The rabbit licked the blood from his knife blade and laughed, his shoulders shaking. But it didn't feel like the rabbit was just laughing at Matt's mortality-wounded avatar. It felt like the rabbit was laughing at Matt himself. So the rabbit wanted to play dirty, did it? Matt yanked off his headpiece. He reached out his arms and cleared his desk, sending all the contents scattering to the floor. He would show that rabbit who was in charge. He just needed some room to spread out. He was in control of the game, so he was in control of the rabbit. He got to say what it could and could not do, where it could and could not go. He would show it who was boss. When Matt went home later, he wouldn't have much control over his life. But there, inside the game, he was the absolute ruler, and all of the decisions were his to make. He programmed the game such that Springtrap was doomed to wander the maze alone all night, with no victims to stalk and no way out. He also sped up the game's time frame by 1,000, so that for each minute that passed in real time, 1,000 minutes passed for Springtraps. Matt found himself laughing louder and harder as he had laughed in a long time. Sure, the rabbit might be able to kill his avatar, but that was nothing compared to the way Matt would alter Springtrap's reality, could control time and space, and meet out of the cosmic punishment like some kind of ancient vengeful god. Matt left the office and laughed some more on the drive home. Hannah had gotten to the house in the divorce, so Matt was moved into one of the apartment complexes with a pool and tennis courts, which advertised itself as offering affordable luxury. He had furnished the apartment with simple, functional pieces and lots of shelving for his video game collection. When his friend Jason from college had gotten kicked from the curb by his girlfriend at the same time, one of Matt's 3-month relationships had split up. Matt had invited him to move into the extra bedroom and split the rent. When Matt walked into the apartment, Jason was sitting on the couch in front of the big screen TV with a video game controller in hand. It wasn't even 6 o'clock, and he had already changed into his pajamas. A 2-liter bottle of soda and an open bag of cheese puffs decorated the coffee table. "Hey," he said, not looking away from the zombies he was blasting on the screen. "Hey," Matt said. "And how is Springtrap?" Jason asked, like one of my asking friends sick on. Matt smiled. "Springtrap is going to have an interesting evening." "Wait, what?" Jason said. "Nothing." Matt tossed his back on the couch. "The game is going great. Kids are going to love it." "Big kids too," Jason said. "I can't wait to play it myself." "Hey, what can you want for dinner tonight? Pizza? Thai? Chinese?" He nodded toward the stack of takeout menus on the coffee table. Matt shrugged. "Whatever. You pick. I'm going to take a quick shower." He had gotten all sweaty and agitated during the battle with the rabbit earlier, and now he could relax and take his revenge at the same time, knowing that the helpless creature was doomed to wander aimlessly through the maze all night. Matt and Jason ate their Thai takeout straight from the containers while sitting on the couch and watching the episode of Rain of Stones Jason recorded on the DVR. Living with Jason felt like being in college all over again. At first, it had been fun. No complicated female emotions, no home repairs, no yard to mow. After work, it was all takeout and TV and video games, unless one of them had a date. But lately, a carefree college vibe had started to wear thin, and Matt had begun to feel like he was regressing, losing ground at a time in life where he would be gaming. Plus, Jason had started to get on his nerves. He was so ambitious, working on a dead-end call center job and never looking for anything more lucrative or challenging. How could a person be so chill all the time? Before long, Matt was going to make some decisions about how to move forward with his life. As the episode of Rain of Stones grew more violent, Matt's thoughts turned to Springtrap in the VR game, wandering aimlessly, with nowhere to go and no one to kill. Matt smiled. It served a psychotic bunny right for killing him all those times. It was strange that thinking about the Springtrap made Matt feel a little better. Maybe he couldn't control the people around him, but he was in charge when it came to the game. And if he had the things where they were going, he would just have to do a little bit of programming to change the outcome. After the mostly sleepless night, Matt was happy to be back at work. There was at least things were interesting some of the time. In a break area, he helped himself to a cup of coffee. He knew it would be bad. Then made his way to the office to see how Springtrap night had been. At least Matt knew there was somebody who had been a worse night than his. Matt put on his headset and entered the game. He walked around the dim hallway and turned to the right as he observed the room and the doors. He chose the door on his right. Thankfully, Springtrap wasn't there, so he granted access to the rest of the maze. Matt walked around the maze for a long time, and there was no sign of Springtrap, no jump scares, no sneaking up behind him, no quick glimpse of the rabbit at the end of the hall. It was strange. The game was programmed. The way the game was programmed, he should have seen Springtrap by now. Matt took out the headset and opened the game's data log. For several in-game days, Springtrap had wandered around the perimeters of the maze, looking for someone to kill. This is what Matt had expected. But he hadn't expected what he saw next. After all those days, no one would kill, and then killing his life's only purpose. Springtrap seemed to spawn a new version of himself. Immediately, the new version killed the old version, and then the current Springtrap would somehow produce a newer version, which would then kill it. The cycle went on and on. Creation of a new AI, followed by the newly created one destroying the creator. The killings got faster and faster, one right after another. Seemingly, as soon as the newest Springtrap would be able to spawn an even newer model. The murders grew in violence as they grew in speed. Stabbings and slashings, decapitations. When Matt saw the word disembowelment in the data log, he felt the coffee lurch in his stomach. Well, bizarre, the log did at least answer the question of how Springtrap spent the night. What it didn't answer was where Springtrap was now. The rabbit was programmed into the game's code. He didn't have the ability to truly permanently kill himself. He would always respawn. He had to be in there somewhere. Matt searched the game's VR for Springtrap. He searched parts of the game where Springtrap had been programmed to be. After having spawned and killed 500,000 versions of himself over the course of the night, the rabbit seemed to have disappeared. Except he couldn't really disappear. It was impossible. The code, the answer had to be in the code. Matt would be absent-minded sometimes. Hannah used to tease him about the endless ability to lose his car keys or his cell phone.
but he had an amazing memory when it came to programming. As a result, it was shocking when he looked at the program for Springtrap and saw that it would now bore absolutely no resemblance to the program he had created. Springtrap programming was fractured, splintered, and unrecognizable. He had no choice but to remove it and start over. He went through the usual steps to remove it, but the damaged program remained. He figured that, since he was tired, he might have entered something incorrectly. He tried again, but the results were the same. He tried again and again for an hour, 2 hours, 3, but the results never varied. The damaged program would not be removed. It was as if Springtrap, in one last spectacular suicide, had blown himself to smithereens, and now all those tiny bits of him were scattered throughout the game's code, as impossible to retrieve as individual specks of dust. Matt started to sweat. All over the internet and every game store, ads for the new Five Nights at Freddy's virtual reality game abounded, including announcing the release date was all too soon. And now the game's program was defective in a way apparently cannot be fixed. Matt's revenge on Springtrap seemed ridiculously small compared to Springtrap's revenge on him. Maybe, if he went into a game one more time, he could figure out some way to reverse the damage. Matt's avatar ran around the periphery of the maze looking for signs of Springtrap. He turned the corner, caught the sight of something green up ahead. Springtrap's lifeless body lay around the maze next bend. I was splayed on the back and its torso wide open. Matt kneeled for a closer look. Springs and gears protrude from the edge of the gaping wound. How would something so mechanical match a look so dead? Springtrap's blank, sightless stare was horrible to behold. Matt reached up to the rabbit's eyelids and closed them. As soon as he made physical contact, Mac felt a sharp sting combined with a mild electrical jolt that reminded him of the pain of getting fraternity letters tattooed on his ankle in college. He pulled the avatar hand away. Matt was too stressed out for the strange state of the game to be in the mood for a date. But Jason had to be insistent on a girl Jason was dating had promised him for a roommate would be perfect for Matt. The four of them were now supposed to have dinner in the Napoleon, Hannah, and Matt's old go-to Italian restaurant. This is another reason Matt didn't want to go. Too many memories, both good and bad. But the main reason was that the likelihood of this girl being perfect for him was equivalent to the likelihood of a snowstorm in August. When the doorbell rang, Matt answered and found two young women. One of the blonde, aesthetically pretty, and a sun-kissed complexion. Maybe this evening would be better than he predicted. Why, hello, Matt said to her, turning to his most charming smile. This is a pleasant surprise. Usually I think Jason's kind of an idiot. But when he said we'd be perfect for each other, he definitely knew what he was talking about. He had his hand. The pretty blonde didn't take the proffer out of her hand and only gave him a small smile back. I'm Megan, Jason's date. Your date is Eva. He gestured toward the brown-haired young woman Matt hadn't noticed standing beside her. Hi, Eva said, smiling shyly. She was dressed in a striped button-down blouse and khakis, like she was going to work instead of on a date. Hi, Matt said, not bothering to hide his disappointment. Eva wasn't ugly, exactly. It was just that, standing beside a specimen as fine as Megan, she looked like a sparrow next to a bird of paradise. Matt also noticed that Eva's smile had not benefited from orthodontia. Her parents must have been too poor to pay for braces, she figured. Matt always found the state of the person's teeth was an accurate indicator of social class. So were shoes. He glanced down at Eva's foot layer. Cheap flats. So, are we allowed to come in? Megan asked. Of course, Matt said, stepping aside. Hey, Jason, he called. The ladies are here. Jason stumbled into the living room. His hair was still wet from the shower. He came up to Megan and kissed her cheek, and then said, Hey, Eva, have you met Matt? Yes, we've met, she said. Matt couldn't figure out why she wouldn't sound more enthusiastic. She was lucky to be going on a date. A guy like him would usually be way out of her league. And speaking of being out of one's league, how did a scrubbly guy like Jason get a shot with a gorgeous girl like Megan? Hey, Jason said, I thought we'd take separate cars to the restaurant. That way, if we want to do something separately after dinner, we're all set. Fine with me, Matt said. Taking his own car would give him the ability to cut the evening short if it proved too unbearable. Matt saw Jason open his car door for Megan, so he bit the bullet and did the same for Eva. Of course, Jason's car was the same one he'd been driving since college, and Matt's was a new sports car. He was surprised that Eva didn't compliment him on it. On the way to the restaurant, Eva said, So Jason tells me you're a video game developer. That's really cool. Yeah, Matt said, trying not to think about the disappeared code and the endangering his high-profile project. It is really cool. Right now I'm working on the newest Five Nights at Freddy's game, the VR one. It's going great, he said, trying to convince himself that at least much was trying to convince her. My little brother is dying to get the game as soon as it comes out, Eva said. It's practically all I talked about. He won't believe that I know the developer. Well, she was showing some enthusiasm at least. Matt decided to lob the ball into her court. So what is it that you do? He wasn't particularly interested, but he told himself to try to listen for an answer. I'm in an RT department, that recreational outfitting company where Megan works, she said. It's the reason Jason thought you and I might get along because we're both into tech stuff. Yeah, well, the last thing I want to talk about once I get home from work is tech stuff, Matt said. Eva smiled and looked forced. Yeah, me too. They didn't talk about anything else for the rest of the drive to the restaurant. Matt had been to the Napoleon since the divorce. It was the same as it always been. Dimly lit romantic with the violent music playing softly in the background. The elderly Maitre D. Look at that glow of recognition. Oh, I remember you, he said. You used to come here all the time with your lovely wife. Well, she's not my lovely wife anymore, Matt grumbled. Why couldn't people mind their own business? The maitre d' Blanchett quickly regained his composure. Oh, I see. Table for four, then. Matt ordered the osso buco, his favorite. Megan ordered the same, which Matt felt indicated discerning taste. Both Jason and Eva ordered spaghetti with meat sauce. Matt was appalled by their lack of sophistication. They might as well have ordered the children's menu. It had been the idea began to form that Matt's mind. Weren't he and Megan such more compatible than Jason and Megan? After all, Matt and Megan were both attractive, sophisticated people. Jason and Eva, though... Though what? Though I go on to my lula mamazilla money. There's no fashion that catch my cash. It all just smells too funny. And that, for me, is the end, but for you guys is not. So, as such, I'll have you guys have a super fantastic, wonderful day. People like Be Official. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I guess for kosher, I'll say next time we'll read page 102 to page 129. Yep, that's right. That's what we're going to read next time. And totally not something I've already read. So, I hope you guys have a super fantastic, wonderful day. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.